DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. DJ PK and our old producer, Scott Garrard. So many years ago, and now the voice of the Aggies. He's in Southern Nevada for the conference tournament. Scotty G, good morning.
Good morning, DJ. How are you?
Really the dream career path for you, right? You go to Utah State, you're doing radio in Logan. You've got some awesome stories about small-town radio, just fantastic. And then
it's the best.
You move to Salt Lake, and you're producing a show, and right to the top, now you're calling games for the top-seeded Aggies.
Let's go. Mountain West Conference Tournament. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's fun. It'll be a fun tournament, too, because, realistically, you have 7 teams who can win this thing, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. And you got a San Diego State team that might have a higher seed in the NCAA tournament than they have in the Mountain West Conference Tournament. So it's a crazy year for the conference. I know PK will beat me up for saying that like he did last time I hopped on, but hey, you know what? It's been a fun year for sure.
This is the 25th year of the Mountain West Conference basketball tournament. Do you know anyone who covered the first year and is also covering the 25th year?
Let's see here. No, he's not around anymore. He's not. He's dead. No, I can't really see anybody, PK.
Wow, he's dead.
You don't know one person that was there?
That would be the greatest Patrick Kinahan, of course. Come on.
Man,
I'm just looking, by the way. You're probably referencing that because the conference just sent an email of the 25th men's basketball team. And you got Jimmer Fredette's on the list. Rafael Araujo's on the list. Let's see if who Utah has. Bogut's on the list for Utah.
Well, they got 2 of them. They got 2 down to the bottom.
Who? I just see Bogut.
Merle and Cada.
Oh, no, I was talking about University of Utah. I said Andrew Bogut.
Oh, University of Utah? No, it's Bogut's the only one.
Yeah, that's why I was saying.
Yeah, is it 25 guys?
Yeah, and then Sam Merrill and Nemish. Yeah. Yep, Sam Merrill and Nemish K are on the list for Utah State.
Looks like San Diego State leads with 5 guys are on the list. And BYU has 2, and Utah State has 2, and Utah only has 1 because, remember, a lot of their great teams under Majerus were in the WAC, not the Mountain West.
WAC. Yep. No Keith Van Horn. No Andre Miller. So there you go.
Obviously, if they included them, Yeah, 25 years. And this, I could argue that this is the best that the conference has been in the 25 years. Really strong argument.
Now, look, I wasn't covering it knee deep like you were back in the day, but look, I'm producing your show. 20 years ago, I'm dialed into the Mountain West as much as anybody, and just from top to bottom, you may not have the elite of the elite, like. There's not a Sweet 16 team probably in here, like San Diego State last year, or there's not that Jimmer team or
Jimmer and Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard
Sweet 16s
team
that very year.
Yeah, you probably. I don't think you have that team, but you have crazy parity from top to bottom, and you've got really great guards. You've got great individual players. Even the bad teams have really good individual players. Like Air Force has this Ritas Petritis, who everybody down here anticipates, because after you have until your sophomore year to transfer out of the Air Force Academy, and everybody's like, this dude's getting tons of money to go somewhere. And so even your bad teams have really good individual players on it that, frankly, can cause a problem for anybody on any given night. Now, I don't think anybody's going to be overly great from Fresno or Air Force, or those teams aren't going to make a run in this tournament, but everybody else is poised to, do some damage here.
I really believe that Utah State has the talent, depending on a matchup, to get to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, it all comes down to matchups. You're 100% right. if they're a 7 seed or a 6 seed, well, not a 7 seed, but if they're a 6 seed, I think they absolutely have a chance. But again, it comes down to matchups for sure.
I mean, they've got the inside out. I think Brown is one of the more underrated players, and he's like big shot Brown, I guess. I mean, this guy just doesn't – he's not phased. He's 24 years old. He's had a college degree for years. This is on his third school. And I just believe that he believes in himself to a high level. And if he's got the ball in his hands at the end of the game, I like their shots.
Well, they don't beat UNLV if it's not for him on that weird 5-point play. They don't beat
Fresno.
And they don't get the win. Well, I don't know. It was a tie game, so maybe they win in overtime.
Yeah, maybe.
But here's the thing is that, and you can say this about the Jazz too. I mean, Keontae George is barely 20 years old. You got a 24-year-old who didn't go on a mission. I mean, he's just been playing basketball the whole time. And that kind of maturity and that kind of, I've been there, I've seen it, I've done it before, is just worth its weight in gold for this team. And I agree. It's been funny watching him as the season's gone on, and he's just taken over because over the last 6 or 7 games, he's just been fantastic for this team. And I played the audio yesterday. I thought it was funny because Danny Sprinkle said on our postgame show, if Darius Brown doesn't win Mountain West Conference Player of the Year, then I'm never voting again. He can take away my vote. I'm not voting. And he doesn't win it, but it's a little bit of an awkward situation because his teammate did in Great Osobor win Mountain West Conference Player of the Year. So I don't know what that conversation is going to be like, but it's like, oh, well, yeah, he didn't win, but hey, my other guy did. Congratulations. Great Osobor has been fantastic, but I know where you're going, by the way. Working your Washington joke in now. Let's go.
Come on, PK.
Washington, is that big enough for Danny Sprinkle?
He's got his dad played football there. He's a huge Washington fan. He loves Washington. He loves the Seattle area. He's got connections up there.
And the money will be awesome.
So
yeah, and the NIL money's there too. It'll be interesting. Is there going to be a battle between Pope and Sprinkle for that job?
The NIL money, you mean it's going to? They have more gift certificates that they can offer to Angie's at more than that.
If you clean the sink, you're good to go. Yeah, I think didn't you do that, DJ?
I did not. I would like to, though.
Is that a euphemism?
No, it's a literal thing on the menu. It refers to eating a lot of food. But thank you, PK.
Yeah, they actually bring out a kitchen sink full of ice cream.
That's what I understand. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
I like to watch desperate teams in conference tournaments. New Mexico and UNLV, I figure, are very desperate. If they could get to the conference title game, even if obviously they win it, they're in. But even if they get to the conference title game, they're close enough to the bubble that would get either one or both of them in.
New Mexico, yes, absolutely. UNLV, they might need to win the thing, unfortunately, although I think UNLV is a fantastic squad, and I probably deserves to be in, but they've just got too many bad losses on that resume. So I think UNLV has to win it. New Mexico, if they get into the championship, they would win. And New Mexico is a team that, frankly, would be fun to watch in the tournament because they're just so guard heavy. And you've got Eddie House's kid and Jalen House, who's actually, unlike his dad, likes to play defense. So he would be fun to watch in the NCAA tournament. They would be a matchup nightmare for somebody in the tournament. The best team, frankly, and look, I know I'm the Utah State guy, and they just won the outright conference championship. But the team playing the best basketball right now is Nevada in the conference. Nevada is just they're a real big problem, and Utah State fans should have been, as soon as Utah State won that out West outright title the other night, they flipped on and should have been a Nevada fan because you want Nevada on that other side of the bracket. The last time you want to see them is in a championship game, and that's it. You don't want to see them in the semifinals because they're playing really good basketball.
Okay, but how about Vegas? They've been on a great run, and it is their home floor.
It hasn't seemed to matter. I know, Utah BYU fans always talk about that because back in the day that was a problem. And maybe it's just because UNLV just hasn't been as good, but it hasn't really been a problem for a lot of teams lately for UNLV to be on their own home court. It just doesn't seem to move the meter that much. And maybe it's just because UNLV isn't as good as they once were, and maybe now they are, but there hasn't been that distinct home court advantage. I mean, yeah, you get that dopey Rebels chant, but other than that, it just doesn't seem to have worked out for UNLV lately for them to make a run in this tournament. And maybe this is the year. I don't know, but the complaints don't seem to be as much as they were, 15 years ago when everybody had to come here and UNLV had those really good teams and were causing all kinds of problems with Lon Kruger and his kid, who's now the head coach, who at one point really felt like he was on the hot seat and now has probably got himself in a good situation here, at least for next year. So I don't know. I've never seemed to be overly concerned about it. A lot of coaches around the league don't seem to be concerned about it right now, but maybe this is the year they turn things around.
They haven't been in the tournament final since 2013. They were in the final 7 times in the first 11 years. That's why everybody was bitter about it back in the day, is they routinely were in the final. And then it was a coin flip once they got to the final. They lost to New Mexico in 2013, and they haven't been to a final since then. So, and in the way the coaches turn over, these coaches
with this year.
These coaches don't have any experience with that. They may get bitter this year because PK's right. Vegas is hot. But there are going to be teams getting knocked out in the quarterfinals who are hot because there's good teams. There's so many of them. There's so much depth.
Yeah, and the quarterfinals are going to be fascinating to watch, and then the semis are just going to be a freaking bloodbath. That's just going to be when you look at all 4 of those teams that are going to probably be in your semifinals, are all 4 certainly locks with good seeds, and are probably all going to be wearing home jerseys in the NCAA tournament, then yeah, you got yourself a hell of a tournament on your hands.
When you look at this conference, you've already mentioned some teams here, but I'm wondering I don't know if the word intimidation is the word I want to use, but just the factor of we've been there, we know how to do this, and I'm speaking of San Diego State. And it's funny for a team that went to the finals, and I realize teams change, but it seems like they're just flying under the radar a little bit this year. And to me, they're very, very dangerous just because of the style that they play allows them to be in games. And they lost a tough one to Boise there at home the last game, and the kid that's Rice's son, right, who made that shot Boise through that shot. Yeah, and then good for him.
You thought Jimmer had a green light to
get it up there.
You thought Jimmer had a green light to shoot at BYU? Yeah, nobody's telling his kid not to shoot. That kid buys his shots at Costco, man. He buys them in bulk, and he shoots as many as he wants because the old man just lets him go.
But I still think San Diego State is extremely dangerous, even though, where are they sitting there at 4th or 5th in the conference? I'd still keep my eye on those guys.
Yeah. 5th. They're 5th.
Oh, yeah. Look, San Diego State easily could win this thing because – they're the one team in the conference that really, truly defends and will get after you defensively. And you got Lamont Butler, who will challenge you all the way down the court and just annoy you and keep you out of your offense so you can't set up your offense until, 17, 18 seconds on the shot clock. No, like San Diego State, is right there with Nevada as a team that, are going to be a nightmare to face. And Utah State, if chalk holds, well, I guess, San Diego State is a 5 seed, maybe not, but I anticipate that they'll win in the quarters. And so you're looking at a Utah State-San Diego State matchup in the semifinals. You're playing a team that just won or just got to a national championship game a year ago with several key players that are still on that roster in the semifinals. And Utah State would probably be, and I'll go glance at the sports book, will be probably a significant underdog going into that game, even though they won a outright conference championship. against the Aztecs, and
Glance.
probably deservedly so.
He'll glance, DJ. Did you hear that word, glance?
I'll take a wandering look. How about that?
My guess is you don't even have to go to the book.
Well, you're in Vegas.
Vinny from the back office will call you and give you the heads up.
They asked me if
Vegas
I wanted
is
to
a place
call my
to take a
room, and I
wandering
said,
look.
I said, hey, you know what? I'm good. You know, it's all paid for. The company's got it. Don't worry about it. We're good.
How much of an advantage do you think it is?
I don't think that.
Go ahead, PK.
Go ahead. Colorado State seems to be on a downward trend compared to where they were earlier. But yet, at the same time, they have a little bit of a desperation factor, sort of like New Mexico going in there. So maybe a little bit of a surprise, but not a shock if they have success here.
No, not a shock either. Love Isaiah Stevens. Probably one of the best pure guards in this conference. He's been around forever, using his COVID year, so he's been in this league for a long time. They're in a little bit of a better situation if the committee is really analytic driven, and the nerds on that committee just look at numbers. Colorado State's probably in a better spot than New Mexico in getting into the tournament. They'll be in. They're going to make it in, but they need to avoid a embarrassing quarterfinal loss. If they can do that, they'll be fine. They'll get in, and they'll be in pretty good shape. But yeah, you're right. They're a team that certainly could win the whole thing. You go down the list, they're right there with anybody else. I would put them. I would put San Diego State and Nevada probably in that first tier, and Utah State probably in that first tier. Then you go down the list, and then you put New Mexico, Colorado State, Boise probably in that next tier below them, and then UNLV probably in that tier. I don't know. UNLV's probably in that second tier as well. So, yeah, I mean those are the teams that realistically have a chance, and Colorado State's right there with anybody.
4 teams at 22-9. The Rams are one of them, and then you got Utah State and Nevada with 26 wins, and the 7th team is UNLV, who'll be chasing win number 20 against San Diego State. It ought to be a good tournament. You ought to give it more than a wandering glance. You should lock down on it, Scotty.
Oh, entertainment purposes only. You guys know I don't mess around with that stuff.
There you go. Scotty, enjoy the tournament. Thanks for joining us. If you get some time, head over to Gauchos or in Henderson at the Big West tournament. I know you're dying to see how that shakes out.
Where's that at? Is that in the...
It's in Henderson.
Where are they playing that tournament at?
There's a...
I know, but where in Henderson?
Yeah, the Dollar Loan Center, I think, in Henderson.
Oh.
Chaparral High School.
Going to Mika's home court for the G League Ignite. Ought to be about the same size crowd there for this one.
Sounds fascinating.
I thought you would.
Do that.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Scotty.
You got it.
He'll complain about the Power 5 all day long, but as soon as he has a chance to be a snob, PK, there it is.
Well, it all flows downhill, man.
It really does. It really does. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Everything missed in this show. We'll get you up to speed next. Stick around.